On board. Thank you so much for creating time once again, sir.
Thank you for having me.
As well as Bosco Mutegi, Policy and Governance Analyst, as well, Bosco, asante sana for creating a time.
Thank you for
Chris, the assumption would have been that what we hear, and I want to believe that you have seen the stories of the many Kenyans, flying abroad, and not just abroad, but particularly for this conversation, Russia, and now they are taken to the military in Russia so that they can fight the police or the military in Ukraine, and pretty much the war that has been ongoing. What we hear is that these individuals are taken abroad by agencies. Don't you think that this is something that would perhaps be a government-to-government affair? The military, the security docket? Some actually argue that they are not even specialists in this space.
Right. It is a fact that we are having a war in Ukraine and Russia. This war, of course, has brought a lot of manpower shortages.
Yeah.
Russia itself will require manpower, technology, ammunition. They'll require all that. So they'll go out to countries trying to seek all those resources to enable them wage their war with the intent of winning that war. Nevertheless, there'll be other persons who will be playing the other way around.
Right.
They'll be going around the globe, recruiting people, and of course, not telling them the truth. Of course, they'll lure our citizens very good contracts, promising a tune of 200,000 a month. But when they get there, they find themselves signing contracts that have been written in Russian language. They don't understand. And the next few minutes, their mobile phones are confiscated, their passports are confiscated, and they are sent to the front line to fight for the government of Russia or Ukraine. But right like you've said, we need this to be a government negotiation. If you go back to history a bit, you'll find India experienced the same thing with around 97 or 27 of its citizens. And the Indian government went to the Russian government, they negotiated, and those citizens were returned back to India because they had been lied to on exactly what they were going to do. Promised jobs, no jobs, taken to the front line. So government, they end up solving that situation.
So what is this that Russia is not doing right? Or what is this that Russia is doing that there's a recurrence of the same happening right now? And in as much as they have, shortage of manpower, is this the way to go?
Russia had told us they'd go into Ukraine for a week, but it's almost now 1 year and several days.
Yeah.
And of course, during that span of time, they've had quite a number of casualties. We have people suffering from psychological trauma. They have lost resources, human and other capabilities. They want to fill up that gap. It's a reputational damage if Russia were to lose this war. They are going to do everything possible within their hands to make sure they have enough boots on the ground, enough ammunition on the ground, and enough everything that they need to wage that war. So they will do that, whatever way, conventional or non-conventional. They will do it to have those resources on the front line.
Bosco, as a governance expert, the government describes this as a syndicate. The government, of course, through the security agencies, then acknowledges that perhaps they are not involved in this arrangement. I mean, maybe a week or two into this coming to the fore, how are they supposed to handle it?
Thank you very much, Linda, for having me for this important conversation that on the issues that are affecting our young people. We are, as we said even last time, Kenya from Federation of Employers in Kenya talks about over 1 million people going out in the job market every year. So what we are seeing is an outcome of the frustrated Kenyans that have gone to school, they have earned the skill, but they don't have the job. So what is happening with this Russia? From where I sit, I don't think there's a bilateral agreement specifically with Kenya and Russia to take these people to Russia. So what requires to be done as we speak, as you have asked, is we need watertight bilateral agreements that protects the people in Kenya. We need our embassies to go out there and try to help our people once they have a problem. If you remember, there was that academy that I don't remember the name, that we had some young women from Kenya who are being taught how to do the drones, and they were excited about it. And even they did videos showing how good this job is, how lucrative the employment is, how the monies they are getting. And even when there was some bombing, or rather in Russia, when they were attacked in that academy, people felt those are attackers, they don't want good for us, they don't want us to be in these lucrative jobs and all that. I mean, no Kenya should suffer in trying to survive, trying to look for survival in another country.
Right.
We should be able as a government try to protect our young people. I'll tell you, in Africa, Africa boasts of its young population. Kenya, if you look at Kenya specifically, or when you talk about Africa, there was a survey which was done, I think by Afrobarometer, that talks about over 50% of the people in Kenya and in Africa are always looking, they would go, getting a chance overseas, they will still always go for it. Why? Because they think there are better opportunities there. Linda, I've lived in Belgium, and luckily I used to work I was working for the government there. I was working in the European Parliament. But I realized even also those countries, they have unemployment issues. Where I used to live, I used to see whites
struggling to find
yes, and even they used to bring me CVs to get them jobs. So let people understand that out there is not heaven. Those countries also have their own challenges. However, let us, as a government, try to come up with home skill solutions, which we can try to help our people, our young people get jobs, be it using AI. The government can leverage on AI. If by now the government should have something like a national youth skilling program for the AI. I mean, the young people need, government need to look at the internet and the AI to help the people, to help the young people. Maybe what the government is doing about Nyota and all that is good, but maybe the young people want internet in their villages, in their estates and all that, so that they can do these jobs they are doing online for other people in other countries, and they earn their money when they're still safe in their own country. I think those are some of the things we need to look at.
We need to do. This is on the extreme. I mean, we would say, I'm glad that you highlight the situation that happened in India, pretty much a recurrence of such a situation. And my assumption is that the military, being in that military space is not just, something that you imagine you would just take anyone and they're there. You look at the intense trainings that these people have to go through. Even if this were a government-to-government arrangement, what would be the ideal situation? What would it be like to make sure that we actually get Kenyans to travel abroad to help in the fight, of course, of the Ukraine-Russian war? Would it be then pretty much a scenario that we witness with the Kenyan military again being ferried to Haiti?
What I'd like to say first on what he said. We saw the government of Russia negotiate a bilateral contract with the government of North Korea. And North Koreans in numbers were taken to fight in the forefront in Russia. This is what we are saying ought to be the pattern that needs to be followed by the Kenyan government, where we see the CEO of our country going to the CEO of Russia, or the CEO of Russia coming to Kenya, sitting down at a bilateral table, negotiating a deal, and then we see ourselves allowing our Kenyans, through a constitutional mandate, to go and do what they need to go do outside there. So what are we saying here? We are telling ourselves that military training, for example, if you take cadet training in Kenya, it takes about 2.5 years for you to qualify to turn from a civilian to a military person, almost 2 years. Then there are a number of trainings here and specializations here in the respective units before they can now be dispatched and be battle ready. So if Kenyans were to be allowed to go and participate or take part in the Russian war, we need to see our government following this kind of a process that, of course, like my brother said, offers protection to our Kenyans. And of course, there's quite a number of good guarantees. Let's look at the Haitian situation. We negotiated that very well under the auspices of UN and the United States and European countries, a lot of other countries. All of them were in support of this. So what happened? After signing all these contracts, meeting all the requirements, we see the PM of Haiti coming to Kenya, lots of negotiations taking place. In the finality, we now see a proper and an open transfer of Kenyan force to Haiti to provide that, of course, the required support against those guys. So that's what we need to see our government doing, if it's supposed to be that. But because it's not being done that way, then basically this is a clandestine move where Kenyans are being lied to. And no security is quite interconnected. These Kenyans are going out there for a reason. They want a safe livelihood. They want to be able to put food on the table. They're not finding that in our country. So we need to find local investments that can encourage a lot of labor from within our own market to uptake these gentlemen and ladies who are coming from these education places and then going into the job market.
But then again, in that desperate moment, perhaps to speak to fellow Kenyans, that we all know that there's been this long, dispute that plays between Russia and the Ukraine, and that Kenyans would still pay to be ferried to Russia for jobs. I know they, of course, are saying they have been asked for 60,000 to these agencies. You know, they are getting 200,000 pay. There's actually an upfront amount of about 2 million, which in most cases is actually not paid to them. You know, a bit of it goes to the agents, and they probably get around 800,000. That is upfront. No matter how desperate then one can be, what kind of wisdom should Kenyans employ in such deals? Because again, they say when the deal is too good, there's that need to think twice.
Actually, I say when the deal is too good, stop thinking. Stop thinking about that.
Cut it.
Cut it at that
you
point.
Know?
Let me give you this particular case of, I saw a story of a gentleman called Evans, who says he was an athlete, and he was lured into a sport to go there and do his thing, the sport that he knows. And I want to advise Kenyans at this point. Any person, any agent promising you a job with a visit visa, run away. Please run away. I've seen someone from my village who had a similar scenario, was invited to go to Canada. Canada, a year ago or something like a year and a half ago during their elections, they cancelled those things. So you cannot convert a visit visa to a job visa when in another country. Let our people understand, if someone is giving you a job, whether you are paying for it or not, please leave this country with a working visa. A work visa. A work visa, mostly in most embassies, you will get it using a work permit, or rather a contract you have gotten from someone in another who is employing you in the other country. So let our people understand from the beginning that there's no free lunch. You cannot get these things on a silver platter using the wrong methods. So let our people understand that you are going to get an opportunity, follow the right procedures. The government right now has beefed up in licensing the agents, and those people who are doing unlawful business have been license cancelled, taken to court, and all those manner of things. So let the people understand that they need to follow the right procedure. Don't get excited when you find an agent, even if the agent is licensed. Please ask for a contract. Now, when it comes to Ukraine, for example, on the case of Evans, he says his visit visa expired, and then someone asked you, how do you find Ukraine? How do you find Russia? He says it's good. Can I give you some other opportunity? Yes. He signed the contracts, and then someone took away his visa, and that is it. Took away his visa and maybe his belongings, and that's why he lost the job. So when you cannot, and also Kenyans need to understand, let's not sign something you cannot be able to read and understand.
And we're coming to that. That's the irony that the contract is written in Russian.
Yes.
And you still are going to carry it? At what point is it supposed to be interpreted for you to understand what you're getting yourself into? Allow us to shift gears a bit. Get to hear what is in the world of sports, because we have as well prepared that for you. And then we come back to just try and understand that, because, I mean, to what point does it get there?